Beloved ones, the great secret of life is not in struggle, nor in endless striving, nor in pushing against the current of circumstances. The secret lies in the invisible law that governs all supply. The law that already knows your every need before you ask. The law that answers not to fear, but to faith. To say nothing is to withdraw the destructive word, the complaint, the doubt, the anxious murmur that chokes the flow of substance. Every careless word is a seed, and too often people scatter seeds of lack by speaking of debt, of poverty, of hardship. But when you say nothing, when you hold your tongue from declaring limitation, you create a sacred silence where the voice of abundance can be heard. For in the silence the universe speaks. To do nothing is not idleness, nor is it sloth, it is holy receptivity. It is the soul at rest, standing still in perfect trust, knowing that unseen forces are arranging, aligning, and delivering your good. Doing nothing in this sense is not neglect, but surrender. It is releasing the restless hand that tries to grasp, and opening the invisible hand of spirit that cannot fail. When you do nothing, you cease from human struggle, and allow divine intelligence to work swiftly and perfectly on your behalf. To just watch is to stand as the witness of a miracle. It is to fix your gaze not on appearances of lack, but on the certainty of supply. Watching is expectancy. Watching is faith with open eyes. Watching is knowing that your good cannot be withheld, and that money, as God's perfect idea of supply, flows where it is welcome, where it is believed in, where it is expected with joy. And so, the flow of money is not the result of toil, nor the outcome of schemes, but the natural manifestation of a consciousness aligned with truth. When the lips are sealed against complaint, when the body is still from frantic striving, and when the eyes are lifted in quiet expectation, then the floodgates open. Then you see money come in ways unimagined, from channels unknown, at moments unexpected. Stand in the silence, refuse to speak lack, refuse to labor in fear, refuse to gaze upon appearances. Simply say nothing, do nothing. Just watch, and you will see the invisible become visible, the unseen take form. The substance of supply pour into your life instantly, for you are in tune with the eternal law of abundance. Silence holds power. Speak no word of lack or limitation, for every word spoken carries the vibration of creation, and the words you utter take root in the invisible soil of the universe. When you speak of debt, when you declare your poverty, when you utter words of fear and struggle, you plant seeds that sprout into the very conditions you long to escape. But when you choose silence, when you guard your tongue, you remove the poison from your atmosphere, and you allow the unseen forces of supply to work unhindered. Silence is not emptiness, silence is fullness. For it is in silence that the true voice of abundance can be heard. It is in silence that the soul aligns with the law of prosperity. And in silence you withdraw power from appearances of lack. Lack is kept alive by conversation, by the endless repetition of stories of shortage, by the constant confession of, I do not have. Each time you say it, you strengthen the picture of want in your mind, and the law of mind obeys, for mind does not argue. It simply creates what is impressed upon it. To say nothing, to refuse to speak of what you do not desire, is to sever the cord that ties you to limitation. It is to declare through silence that you no longer feed the false idea of shortage. The wise soul knows that silence is protection. Just as a seed in the soil must be left undisturbed to grow, so must your good be protected from the chatter of fear and doubt. Many destroy their own prosperity by speaking too soon, by announcing their fears, by confessing their unbelief. Yet the one who holds silence keeps the soil fertile, keeps the seed safe, and allows the sprout of abundance to appear in perfect season. Silence is not weakness, it is mastery. For the one who controls the tongue controls the destiny. When others complain, remain silent. When others speak of hardship, remain silent. When others declare that times are hard and money is scarce, remain silent. For you are not bound by their words, you are bound only by your own. If you do not join their chorus of lack, you do not enter their experience of lack. The power of silence is the power of choice. You may choose to say nothing rather than to say the wrong thing. You may choose to withhold the word of fear rather than to give it life. For every word is a command, every word is a decree, and the invisible law hears it and fulfills it. To speak lack is to command lack. To speak struggle is to command struggle. But to refuse to speak it, to hold your tongue, is to cut off the decree, and without decree, the condition cannot be established. Silence is therefore creative in itself, because it removes the negative command, and leaves only space for the positive law to operate. Silence is the womb of faith. In silence, you do not need to explain. You do not need to justify, you do not need to rehearse your difficulties to others. In silence, you rest in the knowing that your good is assured. Words of lack are spoken by those who do not believe, but those who believe need not speak of lack, for their belief carries them beyond appearances. In silence, you are saying with your whole being, I trust. I know. I am secure. Silence does not mean that you deny what you see, but it means you refuse to give it power through speech. You may see the bill on the table. You may see the empty purse. You may see the account low in numbers. But when you say nothing, when you refuse to declare what you see, you withhold your creative word from reinforcing that picture. Then, by the law of spirit, a new picture can form, a new condition can arise, for you have not nailed the old one in place with your tongue. To speak no word of limitation is to honor the divine supply that never runs dry. It is to show respect for the truth that abundance is infinite, and that money is simply a channel, not the source. When you refuse to say, I cannot afford. When you refuse to say, it is too hard. When you refuse to say, there is not enough. You stand on the side of truth, and truth cannot fail you. The words of lack may seem small, but they carry weight. And each time they are spoken they gather strength. Soon they become a mountain, and the speaker wonders why their life reflects so much shortage. But when you hold your tongue, when you speak not of lack, you prevent the mountain from forming. You prevent the negative force from gaining momentum. The silent one becomes magnetic. The silent one becomes still, calm, and poised. In this silence, the vibration of fear falls away, and the vibration of wealth arises. Others may wonder why opportunities seem to come to you, why money flows easily to you, why doors open without effort. But it is because you have guarded the gate of your mouth. You have not allowed words of limitation to escape. And so you have created an atmosphere that welcomes abundance. Silence is the ally of faith, and faith never needs to explain itself. When you say nothing, you are standing in the invisible confidence that your supply is already at hand. The one who doubts must speak, must complain, must seek comfort in conversation, but the one who knows does not need to declare weakness. Silence says, I know that I know. Silence says, it is already done. Silence says, the law of supply is working for me now. This is the language of silence, a language beyond words, a language the universe always understands. When you hold yourself from speaking lack, you also hold yourself from hearing lack. You no longer join in conversations of struggle, and soon you no longer even attract them. You rise above the vibration of want, and in that higher vibration, supply flows. Those who speak of shortage remain in shortage, but those who remain silent rise to abundance, for silence aligns with the eternal law. It is not necessary to argue with others, it is not necessary to explain your silence. Simply say nothing. Simply guard your tongue. Simply withdraw your energy from the words that create limitation, and the power of those limitations will fade from your life. Silence, then, is a shield, a seed, a womb, and a magnet. It shields you from the contagion of lack. It preserves the seed of your good. It nurtures faith in the unseen, and it draws wealth to you by the law of vibration. To say nothing is to do everything, for in silence, the power of the universe is set free to arrange your affairs in perfect order, to bring money from unexpected channels, to open doors you did not know existed, to deliver your supply instantly in ways beyond your comprehension. Doing nothing is surrendering struggle and trusting divine order. For the great mistake of humanity has been the belief that everything must be achieved by personal effort, that life is a battlefield where only those who strive and strain succeed. Yet struggle is the very thing that blocks the current of good, for struggle arises from fear, and fear is the signal that one has forgotten the truth of supply. Doing nothing is not laziness, it is wisdom. For in doing nothing you step aside and allow the higher law to operate without interference. The oak tree does not strain to grow, the river does not force its flow, The sun does not labor to shine, yet all fulfill their purpose perfectly, because they trust the order set from the beginning. In the same way, when you cease from unnecessary action, when you quiet the restless urge to force outcomes, you discover that the divine plan already holds your prosperity and knows how to deliver it in perfect time and order. To do nothing is to cease from the inner tension that says, I must fix this, I must make this happen, I must struggle or I will fail. That voice is the voice of fear, and fear always leads to more struggle, more delay, more obstacles. But when you do nothing, you release the tight grip of control, you relax into trust, and you declare with your stillness that the universe is wiser than your own plans. This stillness is not passivity, but receptivity. It is an active choice to step into the current of divine order rather than thrash against it. Many chase money with restless hands, with anxious thoughts, with desperate schemes, yet money flees from desperation. Money is magnetized by peace, by calmness, by certainty. When you do nothing, when you rest in calm trust, you become magnetic to supply. Doing nothing is a sacred form of alignment. For in the stillness of doing nothing you harmonize with the unseen intelligence that governs all manifestation. Think of the farmer who plants his seed. He does not dig it up every day to see if it is growing. He does not shout at the soil or force the rain to fall. He plants, and then he rests, trusting that nature will perform her perfect work. So too with money, so too with every form of abundance. When you have set your intention, when you have planted the seed of prosperity in your mind, your next step is not frantic doing, but quiet trusting. The law is working whether you see it or not. The seed is sprouting whether your eyes behold it or not. Doing nothing is the farmer's rest, the confidence that growth is taking place invisibly and will soon appear in visible form. So many block their good by frantic effort, by chasing after opportunities that are not theirs, by forcing doors that are closed, by exhausting themselves with plans upon plans. Yet the law of prosperity works best in simplicity. When you do nothing, you stop scattering your energy, and you allow it to gather in one powerful stream. You become like a calm pool that reflects the sky perfectly, instead of a stormy sea where nothing clear can be seen. In that calm, ideas come without effort. Guidance arrives without struggle, and the right opportunities flow into your path without chasing. Doing nothing creates space for inspiration. And inspiration is worth more than 1,000 restless actions, for inspiration is divine instruction, and it never fails. To do nothing is to lay down the burden of self-will, the constant pushing and forcing that springs from doubt. You no longer say, if I do not do this, nothing will happen. Instead, you rest in the truth that the divine order already has it arranged. This does not mean you will never be moved to act, but it means your actions will no longer be born of fear. They will be guided, effortless, and fruitful, because they will arise from trust instead of panic. Doing nothing is the pause before right action, the stillness in which guidance is heard. It is the trust that your steps will be shown at the right time, and until that time, no action is required. Those who master the art of doing nothing live in a state of grace. They do not rush, they do not fret, they do not scramble for money or cling to opportunities. They are serene, and in their serenity, money finds them. Just as water seeks the lowest point, just as air flows into empty space, so does money flow into the life of the one who is at rest, open, receptive. Struggle repels, rest attracts. Fear pushes away. Trust pulls in. When you do nothing, you are declaring silently that you expect everything, that you believe in abundance, that you are already provided for. Doing nothing also dissolves the illusion of separation. The mind that struggles believes it is separate from its good, believes it must fight to attain what is withheld. But the mind that rests knows that supply is already one with its being, knows that abundance is the natural state, knows that nothing can be withheld. To do nothing is to live in that knowing, to stop running toward what is already here, to stop chasing what is already yours. The law cannot give to you what you already are. It can only reveal it. Doing nothing is the posture of revelation, the willingness to let abundance reveal itself without interference. The stillness of doing nothing is a demonstration of faith. Anyone can act, anyone can scramble, but it takes true faith to be still, to sit quietly, to release effort, to surrender the illusion of control. This is a higher demonstration than 1,000 busy deeds. For in stillness you are saying, I trust the unseen. I rest in divine order. I know that money flows to me without strain. And faith of that kind is always rewarded, for faith opens the door to miracles. Faith clears the way for supply. Faith allows the law to do its work unhindered. When you do nothing, you become a vessel, a channel, through which money can flow without obstruction. The restless hand is clenched, but the resting hand is open. The anxious heart is closed, but the trusting heart is wide. Doing nothing opens the channel wide, and supply pours through it like a river, unstoppable, abundant, and free. What others call impossible becomes easy. What others call hard becomes natural, for you are no longer struggling against the law, you are flowing with it. Doing nothing, then, is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is not neglect, it is trust. It is not delay, it is acceleration, for the law works fastest when unopposed. Doing nothing is not weakness, it is strength, for only the strong can release the need to control and rest in faith. To do nothing is to step into divine rhythm, and in divine rhythm there is no struggle, no lack, no limitation, only the effortless flow of supply that knows exactly when to come, exactly how to come, and exactly where to come. Watching with expectancy opens the floodgates of supply, for the eyes of faith are not fixed on what is seen, but on what is unseen, and in that unseen realm lies the infinite storehouse of all wealth. To watch is not to wait idly with doubt, but to look with assurance, to gaze into the invisible with the certainty that what you desire is already on its way. Expectancy is the magnet that draws supply. It is the silent call to the universe that says, I am ready, I am open, I am willing to receive. Without expectancy, prayers are empty, affirmations are hollow, desires are weak. Expectancy gives life to intention. Expectancy gives substance to vision. Expectancy is the invisible cord that pulls your good from the unseen into the seen. Watching is a sacred posture. It is the soul standing at the window of possibility, looking not at what is, but at what is becoming. It is the spirit refusing to gaze at lack, refusing to stare at emptiness, refusing to bow to appearances. Watching is lifting the eyes above conditions and keeping them fixed on abundance. Many look only at their bills, only at their debts, only at their difficulties, and then they wonder why more of the same appears. For whatever the eyes of the mind are fixed upon, that the law increases. But the one who watches with expectancy turns the gaze toward good, sees supply where others see shortage, and holds steady the inner picture of abundance until it must take form. Expectancy is not hope, for hope often wavers and waits with uncertainty. Expectancy is knowing. Expectancy is the child at the door waiting for the gift, not wondering if it will come, but eagerly certain that it will. The child who expects does not doubt the parent's promise. The child waits with joy, with anticipation, with eyes wide open, because the gift is already real in the child's mind. So too with you. When you watch with expectancy, your good is already real, already yours, already complete. And the watching is merely the joyful anticipation of its arrival. Watching with expectancy transforms the atmosphere around you. It changes the vibration of your being. It alters the current of your life. You carry yourself differently when you expect abundance. You speak differently. You walk differently. You radiate differently. Those around you feel it. Opportunities respond to it. Money is drawn to it. Expectancy is a signal to the universe, a silent broadcast that wealth is welcome, that doors are open, that channels are clear. When you expect, you no longer repel your good with fear. You no longer block it with doubt. You no longer delay it with worry. You become a living invitation, and supply rushes in to meet the invitation. To watch with expectancy is to stand as the witness of divine order. It is to know that everything is unfolding in perfect rhythm, that the current of good cannot be stopped, that the supply prepared for you must appear. You no longer demand. You no longer beg. You no longer wonder. You simply watch. You watch with joy. You watch with certainty. You watch with the unshakable assurance that money is flowing toward you now. The act of watching itself is creative, for by fixing your gaze upon abundance, you impress the mind with abundance, and the mind, through law, produces the matching experience. The one who watches with expectancy does not speak of delay, does not complain of waiting, does not declare that nothing is happening. The one who watches with expectancy knows that the invisible is always moving, that unseen forces are arranging, that supply is already on the way. They do not dig up their seed to see if it is growing. They do not tear open the parcel before it arrives. They simply watch, confident that the unseen will soon take visible form. This confidence is the very key that opens the floodgates. Expectancy is not passive, it is powerful. It is the highest activity of faith, the inner stance that shapes outer reality. When you expect supply, you make space for it. You prepare for it. You act as if it is already here, and that very act draws it into manifestation. A person who expects company sets the table. A person who expects rain carries an umbrella. A person who expects money prepares to use it wisely, prepares to handle it joyfully, prepares to welcome it freely. This preparation is itself a declaration to the law, and the law never fails to answer. The energy of expectancy is magnetic. It pulls to itself the very thing it gazes upon. If you expect lack, you draw lack. If you expect delay, you draw delay. If you expect hardship, you draw hardship. But if you expect abundance, you draw abundance. If you expect swift supply, you draw swift supply. If you expect miracles, you draw miracles. Watching with expectancy is the choice to draw in the good rather than the bad, the plenty rather than the scarcity, the ease rather than the struggle. Watching also disciplines the mind. The wandering mind drifts into doubt. The restless mind looks for proof. The fearful mind imagines failure. But watching holds the mind steady. Watching keeps the gaze fixed. Watching keeps the picture clear. In watching with expectancy, you train the mind to stay true to abundance, to hold the image until it hardens into fact. The outer world may fluctuate, appearances may come and go, but the inner gaze does not waver, and that steadfast gaze is what turns the tide of circumstances. To watch with expectancy is to live as if you already have. It is to live in the vibration of fulfillment, to dwell in the consciousness of possession, to feel the reality of supply before it arrives. And when you live in that vibration, life must match it. The floodgates of supply swing wide, the flow of money increases, the channels of prosperity multiply, because you have aligned yourself with the law through expectancy. The law cannot deny what you truly expect, for expectancy is faith in action, and faith is always answered. Watching with expectancy is also gratitude in advance. It is thanking before receiving. It is rejoicing before manifestation. It is celebrating before the evidence. Gratitude and expectancy are one, for both declare that the good is already secured. The grateful one expects, and the expectant one is grateful. Together they form the perfect vibration for supply, and together they open the floodgates wide. The act of watching is simple, yet profound. It requires no strain, no struggle, no demand. It only requires a shift of gaze. Instead of watching lack, watch abundance. Instead of watching delay, watch fulfillment. Instead of watching obstacles, watch opportunities. Instead of watching the empty purse, watch the overflowing account. This shift is enough to change everything, for what you watch with expectancy multiplies, and what you ignore with disinterest fades. In this posture of expectancy, you become a magnet to all forms of wealth. Money comes from unexpected places, opportunities arise without effort, doors open without struggle. For the universe rushes to meet the gaze of expectancy. What you watch with faith is already yours in the unseen, and the watching draws it into time and space. The floodgates open not by toil, not by endless effort, but by the still gaze of expectancy. The unshakable knowing that your supply is certain, your wealth is sure, your abundance is flowing toward you now. Money flows where faith and receptivity create a clear channel, for money is not merely metal or paper. It is a living stream of divine substance, an energy that responds to consciousness. It does not obey fear, it does not answer to doubt, it does not move through channels of resistance, but it flows easily where the way is clear, where the mind and heart are open, where the soul has prepared a place for it to dwell. Faith is the opening of that channel, the declaration that supply is certain, that abundance is real, that wealth belongs to you by divine right. Receptivity is the widening of that channel, the readiness to receive without hesitation, without guilt, without resistance, without shrinking from the very good you have asked for. When faith and receptivity join together, the current of money cannot help but flow. For the law of prosperity is precise and unfailing. Faith is the builder of the invisible bridge across which supply travels. Without faith, the bridge is broken. The current cannot pass, and the stream of money remains dammed in the unseen. Many cry for money while secretly believing it will not come. Many ask while doubting. Many desire while fearing, and in doing so they block the flow. Faith is not wishing, it is knowing. Faith does not beg, it declares. Faith does not question, it affirms. Faith is the steady conviction that the source is infinite, that supply is endless, that money must appear, because it already exists in substance, awaiting your claim. Every time you affirm abundance with true faith, you strengthen the channel, you clear the debris of doubt, you widen the passage through which wealth can flow to you. Receptivity is the hand that reaches to take what faith has called forth. Many have faith in words but lack receptivity in spirit. They declare abundance but shrink when the opportunity comes. They affirm prosperity but feel unworthy when it approaches. They speak of wealth but secretly fear that money is evil, that riches will corrupt, that success will isolate them. This hidden resistance is a wall against the flow, and the stream of money cannot pass where walls are built. Receptivity is the dismantling of those walls. It is the openness of heart that says, I am ready, I am willing, I am worthy. It is the inner permission slip that allows money to arrive without fear, without shame, without rejection. When you are receptive, you not only allow money to come, you welcome it joyfully, you bless it, you let it circulate, you allow it to fulfill its purpose as a channel of good. Money responds quickly where there is faith and receptivity, for these two together form a perfect channel. Faith calls the supply, receptivity receives it, and the flow is uninterrupted. Without faith, there is nothing to draw the stream. Without receptivity, there is no place for the stream to enter. Both must work together. It is like the rain and the earth. Faith is the rain cloud, heavy with promise. Receptivity is the open ground, ready to drink. Only when both appear does the harvest grow. Without rain, the ground stays dry. Without open earth, the rain runs off. But when rain falls upon open soil, life springs forth in abundance. So it is with money and the consciousness of prosperity. Faith is not bound by appearances. It does not look at the empty purse or the unpaid bill or the dwindling account and declare defeat. Faith looks beyond appearances and declares supply, where none is seen, declaring that money is flowing even now, declaring that unseen channels are opening, declaring that abundance is inevitable. Faith is the eye that sees what others do not see, the conviction that money flows freely regardless of outer evidence. Receptivity then takes this unseen truth and makes space for it to appear. Receptivity does not close its doors by saying, "It is too much, I do not deserve it, it is not for me." Receptivity says, "Yes, I receive. Yes, I am worthy. Yes, I allow." And in that openness, the flood of money rushes in. Money flows like water, always seeking the open channel. If there is blockage, it turns away. If there is resistance, it cannot pass. Faith removes the block of doubt. Receptivity removes the block of resistance. And together they open a wide channel, through which the current of supply can move without obstruction. Imagine a river flowing through a valley. If stones of fear and branches of doubt clutter the stream, the flow is slowed, diverted, diminished. But if the riverbed is cleared, if the channel is wide and open, the water rushes through freely, abundantly, powerfully. In the same way, your faith clears the stones of disbelief, and your receptivity clears the branches of resistance, until nothing remains to hinder the flow. Then money pours in naturally, easily, as water flows to the sea. Faith and receptivity must be practiced daily. Every thought of fear is a stone in the riverbed. Every word of lack is a branch in the current. Every feeling of unworthiness is a wall against the tide. To practice faith is to remove those stones with declarations of truth, with affirmations of abundance, with steady confidence that the universe is unfailing. To practice receptivity is to remove those walls with gratitude, with openness, with joyful expectation that money belongs in your life, and will bring only good. Every time you affirm faith, you widen the channel. Every time you open in receptivity, you deepen it. Soon the channel is so wide, so deep, that money flows through with ease, and you wonder how you ever lived without such a stream. Faith alone can imagine wealth, but without receptivity, it remains a dream. Receptivity alone may long for wealth, but without faith, it has nothing to welcome. Together they are complete. Together they form the vessel through which divine supply takes form as money in your hands. Faith is the builder of the vessel, receptivity is the openness that fills it. Faith is the lock, receptivity is the key. Faith is the call, receptivity is the answer. In their union lies the secret of effortless wealth. Those who understand this truth cease from struggle. They no longer chase money in desperation. They no longer cling to fear. They no longer resist their own good. They stand in faith, they rest in receptivity, and they watch as money flows to them from unexpected places, through unimagined channels, in ways that seem miraculous, but are simply the natural operation of law. For money cannot help but flow where faith and receptivity create a clear channel, and the one who prepares that channel becomes the constant recipient of the endless stream of supply. The unseen law of abundance works faster than human effort. For what is orchestrated in the invisible is not bound by the limits of time, space, or circumstance. Human effort is tied to struggle, to sweat, to calculation, to pushing and pulling against appearances. It is slow because it depends upon the smallness of the personal self, but the law of abundance is vast, infinite, beyond all limitation, and when it is trusted, it moves with a swiftness that no human plan could ever achieve. To rely solely on effort is to limit yourself to the strength of your own arm, the capacity of your own mind, the hours of your own day, but to rely on the unseen law is to draw from an inexhaustible source that arranges, aligns, and manifests in ways beyond your imagining. The unseen law is always at work, silently, unfailingly, constantly seeking to bring forth abundance where there is faith and openness. It does not need your strain, it does not require your endless toil. It needs only your alignment. The moment you affirm abundance, the moment you declare that your supply is certain, the law sets itself in motion, and it does so with speed. Circumstances begin to shift, unseen channels begin to open, ideas begin to form, opportunities begin to approach. You may not see it instantly with your physical eyes, but in the invisible, the movement is already rapid and sure. Human effort would spend years trying to arrange what the unseen law can manifest in a moment. This law is not hindered by appearances. Where the human mind sees impossibility, the law sees only order. Where human effort hits obstacles, the law flows around them effortlessly. To depend upon the law is to enter a higher current, a current that moves faster, smoother, with no wasted motion. Consider how quickly thought travels, how instantly an idea can shift a circumstance, how rapidly one open door can change an entire destiny. That is the speed of the unseen law. It is not bound by the gradual pace of human labor. It is not restricted to one path. It has infinite ways to bring your good. Many labor for years to achieve a small measure of prosperity, exhausting their bodies and minds. Yet one act of faith, one moment of alignment, can bring more wealth than years of toil. This is not to say that action will never be required. But action that springs from human effort alone is slow, while action guided by the law is swift and multiplied. The law accelerates results because it is not bound by human logic, it knows shortcuts, it creates connections, it moves unseen pieces that human effort cannot reach. To trust this law is to let go of the belief that hard work alone produces abundance. Hard work may yield wages, but it is the law of abundance that produces wealth. Wages are limited by hours and tasks. Wealth is unlimited, flowing through countless channels. The unseen law is able to multiply, to expand, to increase beyond what human effort could ever calculate. One inspired idea received through alignment with the law can produce more wealth than years of mechanical labor. One unexpected opportunity orchestrated by the law can open doors that striving could never unlock. The speed of the unseen law is seen in synchronicity, in perfect timing, in effortless connections that seem miraculous to the outer eye. You think of someone, and they call. You need a solution, and it appears. You declare prosperity, and an opportunity presents itself within days, sometimes within hours. This is the rapid operation of the unseen law, moving beneath the surface, arranging details beyond your sight, but always working in harmony with your faith. Human effort cannot manufacture synchronicity, it cannot command perfect timing. It cannot arrange such precision, But the law does it instantly and continually when you align with it. When you rely on effort alone, you are bound by exhaustion, by the limits of time, by the need to push harder and harder. When you rely on the unseen law, you are carried by momentum, lifted by the current, supported by a power greater than yourself. The law does not tire, it does not falter, it does not fail. It operates ceaselessly, and when you rest in its operation, your results come not only faster but with ease. What others call coincidence is the law at work. What others call luck is the law in swift motion. What others call miracle is simply the natural speed of abundance revealed. The unseen law of abundance is like the wind, invisible yet powerful, moving with force and speed, guiding the ship swiftly to its destination when the sails are open. Human effort is like rowing with oars, slow, heavy, exhausting, while the law, like the wind, carries you swiftly when you align with it. Faith is the sail, receptivity is the openness, and once raised, the wind of abundance propels you faster than you could ever move alone. Those who cling to effort often resist this truth, because they believe only in what they can see and do. They say, "If I do not work harder, I will not have enough." Yet they labor endlessly, and still lack remains. But those who turn to the unseen law, those who release their fear and stand in faith, see money come to them in ways beyond reason, and they see it come quickly. They may do less outwardly, yet they receive more. Because the law multiplies their little into much, it accelerates their progress, it bypasses delays. This law is not bound by linear time, it operates in the eternal now. It does not need years to prepare your good, for your good already exists in the unseen. The moment you align with it, the moment you truly believe, the moment you open in receptivity, the law begins to pour forth what has always been yours. The delay is never in the law, the delay is only in belief. When belief is steady and receptivity is open, the law moves instantly, faster than effort, faster than planning, faster than logic. Human effort often moves from problem to solution step by step, but the unseen law moves directly to resolution, skipping over what the human mind thought necessary. You may think you must follow a long path, but the law may open a shortcut, introduce the right person, provide the needed resource, dissolve the obstacle without struggle. What seemed like years of work is reduced to a moment of manifestation. For the unseen law does not need time to create, it only needs alignment to reveal. When you align with the unseen law, abundance flows with speed, and you find yourself saying, "It happened so quickly, I hardly know how." That is the sign of the law at work. It is never slow when faith is firm, it is never delayed when receptivity is open. The floodgates of supply swing open with a speed that human effort cannot rival, for the unseen law of abundance is always ready, always present, always waiting for your alignment to release its infinite and rapid stream. True wealth manifests when thought, word, and action rest in alignment with universal good, for prosperity is not simply the possession of money. It is the harmonious expression of life in every direction. To think abundantly but speak lack is to divide the current. To speak wealth but act in fear is to scatter the flow. To act with confidence but think in doubt is to create conflict within the channel of supply. Only when thought, word, and action unite in harmony with the law of good does wealth flow unhindered, naturally, abundantly, for the law cannot be mocked and it cannot be deceived. It responds to wholeness, to unity, to the inner alignment that allows outer results to appear without delay. The power of thought is the beginning of wealth. For every condition in life first takes shape in the mind. To think in poverty is to build invisible walls that money cannot pass. To think in abundance is to open gates through which prosperity flows. Thoughts are not idle, they are seeds, and each thought carries within it the power to reproduce after its kind. The mind that dwells on shortage, on bills, on debts, on what is missing, continually plants seeds of lack, and the harvest comes accordingly. The mind that dwells on plenty, on supply, on opportunities, plants seeds of abundance, and the harvest comes swiftly. But thought alone is not enough, for thoughts must be clothed in words, and words must be consistent with the vision the mind holds. The word is the decree of the soul, the command issued to the unseen law, and every word spoken with conviction sends out a vibration that draws to it a matching condition. To think abundance and then say, "I cannot afford," is to cancel the seed. To imagine prosperity, but to speak constantly of struggle is to block the flow. Words give shape to thoughts, and they either strengthen or weaken the vision within. Words of wealth, words of confidence, words of gratitude add power to abundant thinking, while words of fear, of doubt, of limitation scatter the energy of prosperity and choke the current before it can bear fruit. The word is the bridge between the inner and the outer, and if it is not aligned with thought, the bridge collapses. Action is the final seal of alignment. To think prosperity and speak wealth but act in fear is to cut off the channel at its last point. Action demonstrates belief. Action reveals faith. To think, "I am supplied," and to speak, "I am prosperous." But to hoard, to hesitate, to shrink back in fear of loss, is to reveal that the alignment is not complete. True action is not reckless, but it is confident, generous, trusting. It moves in harmony with the belief that supply is endless. It gives when moved to give. It invests when guided. It spends without fear when appropriate. It acts as though the flow of wealth is constant. And in that action, the flow is proven true. When thought, word, and action contradict each other, the law cannot flow freely, for the vibration is divided. One part of you calls for wealth, another pushes it away. One part of you declares abundance, another acts in scarcity. This division creates delay, confusion, obstruction. But when thought, word, and action agree, when the mind believes, the lips declare, and the body demonstrates, the law has a clear channel, and money flows through it effortlessly. Alignment is the key to manifestation, for the law always responds to the dominant vibration, and the dominant vibration is created when thought, word, and action are united. This alignment is also alignment with universal good. True wealth cannot manifest through selfishness, through greed, through disregard for the greater whole. Wealth that comes through misalignment, through fear or dishonesty, does not remain, for it is not supported by law. True wealth flows in harmony with love, with generosity, with service, with the universal principle that abundance is meant to circulate. When thought is fixed on good for all, when words bless and uplift, when actions serve and give, then the wealth that manifests is stable, lasting, multiplying, because it is rooted in truth. To align thought with universal good is to think not only of what you desire for yourself, but of the abundance that benefits others as well. It is to picture prosperity as a river that flows through you, not merely to you, nourishing the whole as it nourishes you. To align words with universal good is to speak blessings, to affirm supply not only for yourself but for all, to refrain from complaint, from criticism, from harmful declarations that plant seeds of lack in the world. To align actions with universal good is to handle money with wisdom, with generosity, with joy, to allow it to circulate where it creates expansion, beauty, and benefit. Such alignment draws even greater flows of money, for the universe rushes to supply those who are open channels of blessing. When thought, word, and action are aligned in fear, the results are equally certain. A person may think constantly of debt, speak continually of how little they have, act in ways of hoarding and desperation, and the law answers perfectly, multiplying the very conditions of lack they affirm. The law does not punish, it simply reflects. To change the reflection, one must change the alignment. To bring wealth, one must bring thought, word, and action into harmony with abundance and with good. This alignment is not forced, it is cultivated. The mind must be trained to dwell on abundance, the lips must be trained to speak only words that uplift, the hands must be trained to act from faith. Each day, one can choose thoughts of supply rather than shortage. One can choose words of gratitude rather than complaint. One can choose actions of confidence rather than fear. These small choices create alignment, and alignment creates manifestation. Over time, the channel grows wider, clearer, and wealth flows with greater speed and volume. For the law always meets the vibration presented to it. True wealth is therefore not an accident, not a matter of luck, not even a matter of hard work alone. It is the inevitable result of alignment. When the inner thought says, "I am abundant," when the outer word says, "I am prosperous," when the action says, "I trust in my supply," the universe cannot help but respond. The alignment becomes magnetic, irresistible, a clear call to the unseen law, and the law answers with money. with opportunities, with increase in every direction. True wealth manifests because the channel is whole, and wholeness always attracts wholeness. This wealth is not fragile, for it is built on the eternal law. It does not depend on one job, one source, one channel, for it flows from the infinite. And the infinite never runs dry. It is sustained not by struggle, but by continued alignment. As long as thought, word, and action remain true to abundance and to universal good, the flow remains steady, constant, and multiplied. It becomes a river that grows wider and deeper with time, a current that carries you effortlessly into ever-expanding prosperity.